I will get started with the land acknowledgement and a bit of a review of the agenda. We'll do some introductions of everybody that's here, and then we'll jump straight into the presentation. So I'm Nicole Swern. I'm here as your facilitator today, and I'm honored to give the land acknowledgement on behalf of the William Baker District Planning Team. And giving the land acknowledgement is the one way that we can, as settler descendants and non-Indigenous Canadians, offer our proper respect as allies and supporters of Indigenous peoples on Turtle Island. I put myself into that land acknowledgement by letting everybody know I'm a Scarborough baby. I'm a child of immigrants. My mom's from East Germany. My father's side came from the Ukraine. And when we put ourselves into it, it helped me and helps remind us all to be mindful of the treaties that have been in place long before we arrived. They're still in place, and the many peoples that lived here long before us. So the William Baker lands are covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. This is their traditional territory, as well as the traditional territory of other nations, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. And we know today Toronto is home to many of the diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. And I encourage you, wherever you are, to learn about and acknowledge the traditional territory you're in, learn more about the treaties signed, and get to know the peoples who are an important part of the area. So with that, what we're planning to do over the next 2 hours, we have between noon and 2, is to provide the purpose of the meeting is for Canada Lands and their consultant team to brief you on where their work has taken them in terms of the emerging district plan for William Baker. And we are going to be recording the session. The slides will be available online, and we'll also be doing a summary of the feedback that you share, which has been critical along the way to informing how Canada Lands and their team thinks about the work. But before we jump right into it, I think maybe I'll get the people on the screen as well as participants to introduce themselves. We don't have such a big group. Maybe I'll start with you, James and Dina from Canada Lands and Manon, and then we'll move on to the consultants. Maybe you want to start us off?
Thanks very much, Nicole. I'm James Cox. I'm a senior director with the Canada Lands Company. I'm leading the William Baker development. I think I've met many of you through the course of our process, and excited to be before you today to provide you with a chance to see our emerging district plan.
Great. And also from Canada Lands, we have Dina Grinnell and Manon Lapense. Do you guys want to say hi?
I'll say a quick hi and hand it off to Manon. This is Dina Grinnell. I'm the Vice President of Real Estate with Canada Lands. And I'm sorry I'm having problems with my webcam today. Otherwise, I would be on video. But very much looking forward to hearing your inputs today as we share with you where we are with our preferred concept development for William Baker.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Manon Lapense. I'm the Director of Corporate Communications at Canada Lands Company, and happy to be here today. Bonjour, pour les francophones qui nous joignent aujourd'hui, possiblement ici en ligne. Il me ferait plaisir de répondre à vos questions après la présentation en français. Si vous avez des questions, s'il vous plaît, identifiez-vous et je vais répondre à vos questions. Aussi, nous allons avoir notre matériel en ligne sous peu, mais aussi vous pouvez nous envoyer un courriel à info@kclc.ca si vous avez des questions ou si vous voulez communiquer avec moi directement. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Consultants for Canada Lands that have been working on this emerging district plan are from the Planning Partnership and other teams. So Donna and Ron, you want to start us off? Then we'll go Amy and then Jim's team.
Sure. My name's Donna Hind. I'm a partner at the Planning Partnership. The Planning Partnership is leading the district plan process, leading the urban design, the planning, and the landscape architecture.
I'm Ron Palmer. I'm also a principal at the Planning Partnership, and I'm a planner.
Great. Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy Jang. I'm a senior associate with BA Group. We are the transportation consultants on this project.
Jim and Heather. You might just need to unmute yourself there, Jim. It's good practice. A round of introductions has multiple purposes.
Yes, Jim Dugan with Dugan and Associates. We are been working with Canada Lands on the tree preservation and woodlot preservation aspects of the project, and hopefully Heather may be able to join me shortly.
Oh,
Okay.
hi. I'm. Can you guys hear me? I am here. I'm just on my phone though, not through the app.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead, Heather.
Yeah.
Introduce
Okay,
yourself.
great. I'm Heather Shibley. I'm an ISA arborist and landscape architect with Dugan and Associates, and I'm assisting Jim with the arborist report.
Wonderful. Thank you. Gord.
Hi, Gord Patterson with Counterpoint Engineering. We're civil engineers, so sewers, water mains, and stormwater management.
Okay, great. And maybe what I'll do is I'll just ask everybody else to, well, I'll go to our team. Maybe the sworn team is here as facilitators, and our role, as it is in all our projects, is not to advocate for an outcome, but to help create space for multiple voices. And part of that job includes taking detailed notes. So maybe Matthew and Ruth, you want to quickly say hello before we go to everybody else?
Sure. Hi, I'm Matthew. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I work with Nicole as part of the team. I'm helping today with some of the technology on the back end and also with some of the note taking. And we'll be, as Nicole mentioned, writing a summary of the meeting today so that we get all that feedback captured and publicly available as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ruth Belay. I'm also part of the sworn team, and I'll be supporting with the note taking and the summary process as well.
Wonderful. So why don't we, I haven't seen the counselor jump on yet, so maybe I'll just go alphabetically through everybody else that's on my participant list here. Maybe Ben DeRamo, and then Diane Ho, and then looks like Don Hamilton. Do you guys want to just say hello and introduce yourselves?
Hi, everybody. Sorry, my camera doesn't appear to be working. I'm Ben DeRamo. I'm a planner for the city and in the North District, and hopefully this will be my file to bring to fruition.
Lovely.
Hi,
Diane.
everyone. Oh, hi, everyone. I'm Diane Ho from Transportation Planning, City Planning with the city. I'll be the transportation planner on file for this application. Thanks.
Nice. Thank you. Dawn.
Hi, everyone. Dawn Hamilton, Program Manager of Urban Design for North York and City Planning. I've been working in the Downsview area for over 10 years, so I know it quite well. And obviously, when this application comes in, Urban Design will be reviewing it. And so looking forward to hearing what you have to say today. And I think the city's team is having issues with video, just so everyone knows. It's all of us. So that's why our videos aren't on.
Okay, no problem. I've got Jack Krubnik.
Hi, everyone. So, Jack Krubnik. I'm a senior urban designer in North York. Same thing Dawn said. I wish I could see you guys today, but every time we go on video, it seems to kick us out. So we're still here. We could hear you guys well, and hopefully you could hear us well.
Oh, but you guys can't see the screen. Hey, Jack?
We can. Oh, we can see all the participants. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So next up, I've got Robert, as well as Susan, Veronique, Vinny, and Mitubiku. So maybe we'll go in that order. Robert.
Hi, everyone. I'm Robert Walter Joseph. I am a land use planner working with the neighboring Duke Heights BIA. I just wanted to join in and listen in on the call today. We have had the pleasure of engaging with the consultant team in past, so I'm just listening in. I will have to drop off very early, but just wanted to sort of stop by and say hi.
Thanks for coming. Nice to see you. So Susan.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, no problem.
Great. I apologize. I'm on the app on my phone without a camera as well. But I am Susan. I'm the CEO at LumaCare. We're a local provider. That's my dog. Hello, everyone. We are the local community support service provider for seniors care in the community. We've been around for 46 years. I've been working with them for 14 of those years. We were involved early on in some of the consultations and just dropping in to get an update on where everybody's at. Thank you.
Welcome to both of you. Okay, Veronique.
Hi, everybody. My name is Veronique. I'm an environmental planning assistant at Coco Group of Companies. It's a business located close to the subject site. I've participated in a few public meetings, and I'm just excited to sit in and see where everybody's thoughts are at.
Lovely. Thanks for coming. Vinny.
Hi, I'm Vincent Galprin. Sorry, I don't know how to change my name on this. I don't know why it says Vinny. I'm a urban planning graduate from U of T. I'm also a resident of Stanley Green neighborhood and a member of the DLVC, the Andrew Lands Community Voice Association. I'm really just sitting in just to get some information, maybe say some suggestions if possible.
Wonderful. I'll go with Vincent. I promise.
Thank you.
Bitumbiku.
With the City of Toronto, and this is a file that I'll be working on.
Great. Okay, wonderful. So thanks everybody. And I think, as is the case, when we get towards the end of these district planning processes, there are more and more voices here in order to make sure that there's a good team to be able to answer questions. A number of folks from the city on the line to also not only learn about what's emerging, but also to be able to potentially answer questions. We have had, leading up to today, a few meetings with some of the local organizations that have been actively involved. And so, as Robert said, we've met him and the Duke Heights folks. We've met Vincent and the Downsview Lands Community Voice folks. And so we're really keen to go through the material, and probably Susan and Veronique would be a couple of the new public voices that are with us, and we'll see if others join us as the call unfolds. But you're going to be my, I think Robert, Susan, Veronique, and Vincent will be my high priority participants for today. The counselor has not joined us. I know he's actively following the process, so maybe in his absence, James, I'll hand it over to you and Donna and jump into the presentation. And if he joins as it unfolds, then that's great. And just so participants know, what we're going to do is work through about half of the deck. The presentation probably takes about a half an hour. We'll probably work through about 15 minutes or so of it, take a pause and have some time for questions, and then work through the second half and have time for questions or comments on any of it. So just so you get a heads up, it may be that some of the items that you're most interested in come in the second half. James will walk you through the structure in a minute. So I encourage you to go on mute. I'm going to mute myself, and we'll hand it over to James and Donna to walk us through.
Okay, thanks very much, Nicole. As I mentioned, we're very excited to be in front of you today, giving us a chance to present to you our William Baker concept plan. And we've been developing this emerging concept plan over about the last year and a half based on input we've got from the community and from the stakeholder groups. And today is a chance for us to walk you through that emerging plan, give you a little bit of the background, and a real opportunity for you guys to ask any questions and provide any comments. So the agenda for today's meeting, we want to start with where we are in the process and what we've heard from the community and the stakeholders. We want to refresh you on our guiding principles, present to you the emerging district plan, and then what we'd like to do is peel back some of the layers and give you some of the background in terms of how it's evolved. So that will include talking about the woodlot, the parks, and the new pedestrian bridge. We'll be talking about the neighborhood focus and the hub of activity, including the seniors, the residential land use, the built form and the affordable housing, community benefits, and then talking about the phasing and the next steps. And as Nicole mentioned, we have somewhere in the middle of the presentation a break for questions, for comments. So there's plenty of opportunities for those folks, so please speak up. First slide I want to get into is where we are in the process. So we started our work in early 2019. And that was really setting out to do 3 phases of consultation that would inform a district plan. So the phase 1 was back in the spring of 2019, and that was about getting ideas on the key directions from the community and the stakeholders. We went back last fall and last winter with phase 2, and that was about testing some concept options. And here we are at phase 3 about the emerging concept plan. So coming out of today, we'll be refining the plan based on community feedback and comments. And in early 2021, we'll be making a submission to the City of Toronto, as a lot of staff mentioned. That will be a district plan for the entire William Baker neighborhood and rezoning and draft plan of subdivision for the phase 1 or the Southlands. At that point, when the application goes in, it's then a city-led process over the next approximately a couple of years. And I think the key thing to understand is while we're well underway at William Baker, there's still plenty of time for input and comment. And then you have 2023 plus, which is the time when we imagine the first phase of development proceeding and construction beginning. So the William Baker District Plan, it implements the city's official plan and it implements the Downsview Area Secondary Plan. The two schedules you see on the right, the first one at the top right-hand corner is the land use schedule provided by the city. And so that establishes William Baker as largely an apartment neighborhoods designation with pockets of mixed use along Keele. And it's centered around the woodlot, which is designated for natural space, natural heritage and park space. The schedule on the bottom right is the road schedule that comes from the city's secondary plan. And that provides for a few new internal roads that would serve the new neighborhood. The district plan is essentially a framework that establishes land uses, establishes parks and open spaces, establishes roads as well as pedestrian trails and bike connections. It provides the character and it speaks to phasing as well. And there's a number of studies that'll support the district plan. Those include sustainability, natural heritage impact, affordable housing, community services and facilities, urban design planning, and then we get into some of the more technical studies like servicing and transportation and archaeological. There's also one I should mention, which is one the Swearhun team are working on. That's the Public Consultation Strategy Report. So that will summarize all the feedback we've received from yourself and community groups, stakeholder groups, and it will develop it into a strategy for engagement moving forward. So Canada Lands wants William Baker to be a model and a showcase development. What we did was we established these guiding principles coming out of phase 1 consultation, and that was based on the Downsview Area Secondary Plan and based on feedback we've got from the community and from stakeholder groups. And these guiding principles allow us, they inform the development of concept options, and they allow us to continue to evaluate and develop the emerging concept plan. So they involve creating a sustainable and resilient neighborhood, creating a place for all to live, including seniors, providing a well-connected network of mobility options, providing a range of housing options, including affordable options and including those for seniors, creating a neighborhood focus to support community life, and designing the parks and the woodlot as the focus for the neighborhood. There's a whole lot of inputs that go into the district plan, and there's a whole bunch of groups as well. So those include the public and the community. They include the stakeholder and the public interest groups. Nicole mentioned a few of them that we've been meeting with. There's the technical experts, a lot of which are on the call today. And there's also the City of Toronto, of which we have a lot of staff. And so City of Toronto are both an approval authority, but they're also advisory in terms of the policies and guidelines that are provided. So Canada Lands takes all of those inputs we received from the various groups, and that informs our plan. You know, our job is really to balance all those interests and to come up with a plan that works and that's viable. So at this stage, I'd like to hand it over to Donna Hind, partner with the Planning Partnership. Donna is going to speak about the community feedback we've heard from the phase 2 consultation and then get into the emerging district plan.
Thanks a lot, James. As James mentioned right in the beginning, the team has been having conversations with the community since the early part of 2019 when we had our first workshop. Our second workshop, when we presented 3 concept options, was in November 2019. When we asked for input, we've also had pop-up events throughout the community, specific stakeholder meetings, lots of email messages, and lots of telephone conversations. So what we've been learning over the past several months as we asked for your input on the concept options is we heard support for protecting the woodlot on the site and improving pedestrian connections through the neighborhood. We heard support for tall buildings and for allowing the appropriate kind of density. We heard support for using a variety of building types, having a variety of building types, so the neighborhood didn't all look the same. And then we also heard support for local shops, for cafes, for places to meet. We heard strong advocacy for providing places for seniors to live and be active. We heard a suggestion for including a seniors village in the neighborhood. We also heard support for the City of Toronto Community Centre close to William Baker and in Downsview Park. We've heard the full spectrum of opinion on affordable housing. Some advocated for affordable housing that was well built and well maintained. Some said they didn't want affordable housing in the neighborhood, and still others said they wanted affordable housing, but they wanted it targeted to specific groups. When we came in November to the open house in the Downsview Hub, we presented 3 concept options, and we said specifically, we don't want you to think you necessarily have to choose option 1, 2, or 3 in its entirety. What we're interested in understanding are the parts and pieces of option 1 and option 2 and option 3 that you have particular preferences for, because then it enables the team to cobble together the best of option 1, of option 2, and option 3 into an emerging preferred plan. So what we heard when we asked people about option 1 was we heard support for locating the retail and commercial uses at Keele and Shepherd, where my cursor is. We also heard support for locating lots of people close to the park and lots of people close to the bus services hub, right where my cursor is. When we looked at concept option 2, we heard support for this piece of open space that the team illustrated in option 2, providing a link between the woodlot and the open spaces around the woodlot and Downsview Park. And then when we looked at option 3, we heard support for locating lots of people close to the TTC and a Subway and Go transit hub up here in the northeast corner of the site. And we heard support for enhancing the open space around the woodlot with facilities like children's playground equipment or maybe a pavilion. So when we sat back and squinted our eyes at all the input that we got, we put together this emerging district plan concept. So I want you to look, first of all, squint your eyes and look at the green space that's in the concept. So we've distributed green space, so we have it from top to bottom of the William Baker neighborhood. So up in the north part of the plan to provide a focus for the neighborhood, we're showing open space in between the woodlot, so it's in this light green. And we've carried forward the idea of a open space at the south end of the neighborhood to provide a link between the woodlot and Downsview Park. We're preserving the natural heritage elements of the woodlot, fundamental to the concept plan. We're showing a mix of housing, and that's illustrated by these various colors of brown to beige, and I'm going to come back to describing that mix of housing later in the presentation. And we've carried forward the idea of a strong neighborhood focus here at Keele and Shepherd, close to the bus services in the southwest corner, and to help support the existing retail and commercial uses that already exist on Keele. I'm going to hand it back over to James to talk to the next couple of slides. James?
Thanks, Donna. So Donna shared with you the emerging land use plan, and what I'd like to speak a little bit about is Canada Land's vision for William Baker. Our vision for William Baker is as a complete community, and that's something that's very important to Councillor Pasternak. The key features of the district plan include that it conforms to the city's plan, provides woodlot, parks, new pedestrian bridge to Downsview Park, provides a walkable community near transit, provides the shops and services to support residents new and existing, as well as seniors, provides a mix of housing types and affordability, including for seniors, and it provides space for community uses, and also got land for a new community center right across the street. Now, we know that some have advocated for a seniors village, while others have said that the neighborhood should be designed for everyone, not only seniors. We're proposing a district plan framework for William Baker to be inclusive and provide a place, a village, and a hub for all. So when we refer to a hub, we're not referring to one specific building. We're referring to a hub of activity, which includes housing, a range of amenities, within walking distances to shops, medical uses, community space, and transit. Over the last several months, we've undertaken a lot of market research. We've consulted with both not-for-profit and for-profit seniors providers to understand the needs of seniors communities and what's important, and we've reflected on that in the plan. So for us, we understand it's important that seniors be within walking distance of these uses, that they have a range of housing options, including affordable options and various levels of care. And we also understand, based on our market research, that the shops and the uses that these people will use, it's important that they be supported by everybody. We can't just have them for a particular group. I'll hand it over back to you, Donna.
Thanks, James. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the woodlot, the parks, and the new pedestrian bridge. So on this diagram on the screen, you're seeing just those components of the plan that have been isolated and highlighted. And so first and foremost, I want you to look at the dark green, which is the woodlot preserved. So the significant heritage elements of the woodlot will be preserved and enhanced. The diagram is also showing this dashed blue line, which is a multi-use trail for pedestrians and cyclists to make sure that we can have the entire community that's accessible and right over to the park. We're showing the small, the local neighborhood parks that we're planning in each neighborhood that I introduced in the overall district plan. So in the north end, the south end, and in the areas around the natural heritage elements of the woodlot that we are preserving. The thick green dash line is indicating an idea for green multimodal streets that are part of an accessible and safe trail network, sidewalk network, to make sure that the entire neighborhood is easy to get through and easy to get around. The photographs on the side of the screen are indicating the kind of character we're imagining for some of those key components of this part of the plan. So a multi-use trail through the woodlot for cyclists and pedestrians, an area that's perfect for quiet contemplation and reflection, and that some of the areas in around the woodlot could be an appropriate location for playground facilities. The team is preparing an ecological management plan to make sure that the William Baker woodlot is resilient. It's based on a number of fundamental principles. A principle to protect the ecological features, to enhance those features and functions, to increase resiliency, to integrate the ecological features into the surrounding neighborhood, and then to educate everybody who visits the neighborhood about the importance of the woodlot, the ecology of the woodlot, and really important, the restoration activities that will occur in and around the woodlot. The district plan concept is now overlaid onto an historic air photo to show how new development and roads have been carefully located outside of the natural heritage elements of the woodlot. So what you're seeing is color, this gold color, this beige color, the hatching. That's the district plan that I presented earlier. And we've put it over an historic air photo when the neighborhood was still used for military housing. So what I hope you can see is that new development is planned for the areas that were previously used for housing and for their associated manicured lawns. So the woodlot will be enhanced and areas in between the woodlot will be renaturalized. So that's the light green area, which is the park space that I showed on the emerging district plan. So you can see light beige for the lower density residential here on the west of Shepherd, pocket of redevelopment on the south side of the new east-west road, and the road down here on the south end. This is a view, so to get you oriented on this key map. So we're looking south from a new east-west road that's located north of Shepherd. So here's the east-west road. We're looking south. The woodlots at our back, and we're looking along that new piece of open space, and Downsview Park is off in the distance. And what you're seeing is the multi-use path goes through this green space for cyclists and people to walk. Could be a location for children's playground equipment. It's flanked by residential uses to make sure there's lots of eyes on the space to make it safe for everybody to use. So I'm going to turn it over to Nicole.
Excellent. Okay, so that sort of does the upfront setup with a bit more, not only the overview of the area as a whole, but also a bit of a deeper dive on all things woodlot related, given how much focus people have put on the importance of the woodlot right from the beginning. And I know that's consistent with the city's position as well as Canada Land's position. So maybe open it up, especially to the folks who are new, whether it's Robert, Susan, new or from the community. Robert, Susan, Veronique, or Vincent, do you have any questions? Also, of course, if you're a city staffer and you want to jump in or have a comment or question, Ben, I know you're never shy to weigh in. I'll just take a pause for a second, see if anybody has, and put your hand up either just in front of your screen like that. I can see your hand, or just speak up, or you can also put your hand up in the participant list. Yeah, go, Vincent.
The last meeting that we had, for those here who weren't there, I believe it was Veronique who complained about, well, actually, I'm not sure who it was, but someone complained about there being too much residential infringement on the woodlot as it was. And I believe that's why Donna now has added a slide that shows where historically there was housing before and why those areas, they're not like, they're not aged woodlot right now. They're previously residential. I think the rationale that was brought up before about because ideally they didn't want to have more any kind of or as little as possible residential development on that area. But the rationale was that if you want mixed use development, right, we need to infringe on that, right? And the reason we need mixed use development is because we want to avoid a homogeneity of built form of design, right? I'd like to just weigh in on that and just say, I don't think having like more mid-rise or high-rise and less low-rise necessarily entails homogeneity of built form. In Stanley Green, that was the lesson that was learned, right? That like all of this low-rise development, it all looks very, very similar, kind of a desertification. But I mean, that's not necessarily true, right? You can have neighborhoods that are all, hypothetically, all one kind of residential height and not be homogeneous, not look all the same, right? So I understand there are quotas for density, and that makes a lot of sense, but those quotas could still be met if a little bit less low-rise residential development was going on in the surrounding areas around the woodlot. And then you'd still be able to not only preserve, but also enhance the area and the scope of the woodlot. Just a suggestion, and I do believe that that would be preferred by the residents of the area and of Downsview Lands.
Thank you for flagging, Vincent. I don't think Veronique was on our call the other day, but there were certainly a number of, not only to say, Veronique, I know it wasn't you, but there were a number of people that have that were members of that are representatives of the Downsview Lands Community Voice Association, who I know there's more than just that. We're very
I
very
think it was
interested.
Marlene, actually.
You got
Yeah,
it. And I
yeah.
think Linda had some similar comments. But
Yeah.
that's the James. Do you want to talk about that whole relationship between, you know, how many units and how much space it takes up, and I think Vincent did a very good job of setting it up. But how Canada Lands talks about sort of the lower the buildings, the bigger the floor plate. The taller the buildings, the smaller the floor plate. That has a relationship to how much then space there is for the wood at the park and the woodlot, and maybe talk about how you think about it, and maybe if you can respond to his point that even if you did have all mid-rise or high-rise, it doesn't all have to look the same. I mean, it seems.
Vincent, certainly appreciate your comments, and I think especially with your background as a planner, I think we understand completely what you're saying. And as you say, I mean, you could have all high-rise, all mid-rise, and still have that variety in terms of architecture and heights and built forms. So I think that's an important one. You know, I do want to say we're not infringing on the woodlot. We're actually enhancing the woodlot, so we're not cutting into it. I think what Dawn has expressed is we're looking at key areas, and at some point I think she could probably bring up the slide where we're actually renaturalizing what was once some residential area. I think the other thing I wanted to talk a little bit in terms of built form, and this is based on some of the feedback we're getting from some of the seniors providers we've been talking to, is the importance of having low-rise form, not just in terms of for market or for affordable options, but also for seniors. There's certain levels of care that benefit from building forms being less than 5 stories. So within our district plan, we're trying to provide a framework that allows for those kind of uses and encourages those uses to come to us. So that's kind of the interests we're balancing there, and we've certainly heard that people want that variety of built form as well. But maybe Donna, if you want to, or if you feel free to add to anything, by all means.
Yeah, I think you captured it, James. It's about the variety of building types and going from the taller buildings down to the more ground contact buildings. And we purposefully try to have that variety in the neighborhood, the whole William Baker neighborhood. And to James's point, when I share the screen again, I will orient people to the areas that we are naturalizing, and maybe we can get Jim Dugan on to help us be more precise on that.
I mean, Vincent's very specific comment is in order to, so there was concern raised about infringing on the woodlot, and the rationale was to avoid uniformity, or at least part of the rationale. What you're saying is it's not really to avoid uniformity. You're not infringing on the woodlot.
Correct.
And that you appreciate that there are reasons why the variety of the built form. Maybe we'll go to Jim, but Vincent, if you very specifically, if I get you well, what you're saying is, you know, that protecting the woodlot is important. And I guess maybe that's why it might be useful to hear from Jim right now to explain, you know, how does the picture that's proposed infringe on the woodlot? Like, why are people getting that impression?
Just to clarify, sorry, just to clarify real quick, it's not about protecting it, because I know you guys are completely protecting it 100%, right? It's about enhancing it, right? It's about, you have an opportunity to, like, just because the residential sites were residential before doesn't mean they have to remain that way. So there is an opportunity to enhance the woodlot, which does protect it, right? So that's just my point.
Good. So that enhancing doesn't just mean, because Jim described some of those things the other day, it also potentially means making it bigger. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So I just want to make sure we're super clear, because we want to think, oh, well, we've answered. Jim, do you want to explain a little bit how your team and maybe Heather too are thinking about the trees and the woodlot and enhancing what that means and opportunities and values of making it bigger?
Yeah, well, the kind of the top of the list is really protection of the main blocks of forest, which are shown in the dark green on the concepts, and that's the starting point. And then we're looking at ecological management, which would enhance by providing buffers. This is one of the things around the areas that are joining development. Secondly, putting in naturalization into areas that are towards that are basically between the blocks of woodlot to eventually have a larger canopied area, and that supports in part the city's canopy targets. And also, we know that certain functions, particularly for more sensitive bird species, will be enhanced by having larger contiguous cover. Other benefits too, even things like monarch butterfly, for example, meadow creation in part of this park area and along the buffers. This all adds up to greater function. And so ultimately the intent is to have a bigger and better woodlot and a more diverse woodlot there, whereas we've got kind of post residential lot cover right now where houses have been taken out and we're putting in consolidated natural cover.
Thanks, Jim. Vincent, does that works for you? You got it? Yeah. Is there anybody else? We don't have a ton of cameras on, so I'm just going to say if Susan or Veronique or Susan or Veronique have any comments or questions or any of the city team before we go through the second half of the presentation?
I'm good for now.
Okay, fantastic.
It's Susan here. Can you hear me?
Yes, no problem.
So great, thank you. It's refreshing to hear seniors come across the presentation as many times as it did. And clearly it's been thought through in the use of that space. In terms of the woodland areas, I would just, as a reminder, it didn't come clearly through, but the use for seniors of that space, I heard that like the housing would need to be close and walkable, but also the canopy covers, the rest areas, it really needs to be thought through. And not only seniors would benefit from that design, right? That's really truly a living space for all abilities. And as the leading nonprofit and larger provider of assisted living, I'll just confirm, yes, low-rise buildings would obviously be a preference, and accessible buildings and affordable buildings are all top priorities for us. So yeah, I just echo that and thank you.
Great. Thanks. Do you guys want to jump in at all about thinking ahead to the more details of the woodlot or the green spaces, about rest areas, canopy cover, that kind of managing for the elements?
I mean, maybe I could encourage Donna to speak about that. I know with our upcoming slides, we're going to talk a little bit more about the neighborhood focus area, the hub of activity, specifically around seniors and that connection to some of the woodlot. So I think you'll have a chance to kind of understand what we're talking about with respect to our vision, and certainly appreciate the comments. Vincent, I wanted to mention one other thing. We've been talking about doing a site walk with some community members. I believe it's on the weekend of November 21st, 22nd. So, you know, we'll provide you some of those details, and we would encourage you to join if you're able to.
Thank you. I'd love to.
Yeah.
Okay, Donna, James, I think second half of the presentation, good time.
Okay, so let me just make sure. Okay, so now I'm going to switch and talk a little bit about the neighborhood focus and the hub of activity. So this illustration that you're seeing on the screen is it's a perspective view, and we're looking high level. This is Keele on the bottom, Shepherd where my cursor is, Downsview Park, just to get you oriented, Woodlot up on the top left. The neighborhood focus is located here at Keele and Shepherd. That was as one of the components that we carried forward from concept option 1. It's the location where there will be the greatest mix of uses that come together. There's shopping, there's open space, there's community facilities, and there's housing. And we're purposefully locating a concentration of housing in the neighborhood focus to make sure that we can support all of the shops and services that may be on ground level, and that we can support the bus services hub that exists on Keele. We are imagining that these amenities cater to all residents and visitors, and that it is the hub of activity that the seniors in particular are looking for. This entire area where my cursor is, it's about a 200-meter radius, so everything is in a short walk. So if you were a senior living here where my cursor is, you're going across the street to meet your friends for coffee, you're walking down a block to have a medical appointment, maybe you're going to pick up groceries at the small grocery store that's at the corner of Shepherd and Keele. So this walking distance is about 150 meters. So it does create a village-like atmosphere because everything is so closely knit together. These photographs on the bottom are illustrating the kind of character and quality we're imagining happens on the street level. So there's shops and cafes that spill out onto the street. There's lots of street trees, lots of places for you to socialize and meet with friends, everybody who's visiting or living in the William Baker neighborhood. When we look at this view, now I'm going to orient you again to this key map on the corner of the screen. So we're looking along to the west on the new east-west street that is being planned north of Shepherd. And so we're catching a glimpse of the new park, that new park in the south end that I've been speaking about. We're looking past the housing that exists, that's being planned on both sides of the street. So seniors living. We're looking in the distance at the taller buildings that will be facing Keele Street. So you can see the ground floor of shops and services and medical services all within a close distance of each other. Safe sidewalks that are planned for along that east-west street. Now we're looking at a close-up view of the northeast corner of Keele and Shepherd. So we're looking at the opportunity to have a small grocery store there. CLC wants to deliver on this component. They believe that there's market support for it, and it's a really important part of the vision for the neighborhood. So you can see the small grocery store. This is a hub for pedestrian life, a center of activity. See in the distance those shops and services. We know that Shepherd is a larger street. We're purposefully setting back those facilities and services beyond a wide green buffer that will include lots of street trees. I'm going to switch now to talk specifically about housing. So now we're looking at the various shades of dark brown to beige. So you can see when you squint your eyes at the concept that there's a mix of colors across the plan, and that's demonstrating the mix of building types and forms. We're locating the taller buildings in dark brown close to that subway and GO station, and also close to the southwest corner in our neighborhood focus, so we can make sure we can get as many people as we can to support those shops and services and to support the bus services that's in this portion of the study area. You're seeing I'm going to show you a couple of images shortly that those taller buildings are going to step down with a podium, so that similar to the illustrations that I've just showed you, so we can make sure that there's a podium that's pedestrian scale, pedestrian focused for shops and services on the ground level. You can see that there's always a transition of building height. So up here in the northeast corner, we're stepping down from the taller buildings to the mid-rise buildings to those lower buildings that we heard just recently about the importance of the buildings that are up to 4 or 5 stories. So they're in the light color. We're locating them internal to the neighborhood. We're trying to locate them where they're nice and close to open space. So the light beige. And then we're showing the mixed use, the focus at Keele and Shepherd, showing as indicated in the Downsview Area Secondary Plan here in the middle of the neighborhood, and then at the north end as well. A couple of images that depict the kind of character and quality of housing that we're imagining. So ground contact houses, townhouses, step townhouses, taller buildings that have that base of other uses to make sure we're bringing down the scale, make sure everything at the street level is pedestrian focused. And then where there are opportunities for those buildings that are 4, 5, 6 stories, what they might look like. Going to now hand it back over to James.
James, you're muted. You know that, right?
City's
Start again.
City's definition of affordable housing means the cost of affordable housing will not exceed 30% of a household's gross income. So that's very important to us, as affordable housing helps individuals, it helps families, helps seniors live in our communities. You know, everyday people live in our communities. At Canada Lands, we're committed to providing at least 10% of all residential units as affordable housing, including at least 50% of those as affordable rental. We're also exploring opportunities to provide additional affordable housing opportunities through our work with CMHC as part of the Federal Lands Initiative. The image on the bottom is from the city's action plan on housing. It provides the range of housing across the spectrum, and we're looking through the check marks to demonstrate what type of housing we're contemplating at William Baker. So that includes market home ownership, market rental. It includes affordable home rental, affordable home ownership, including seniors, and it also includes the assisted and long-term care living as well for seniors. In terms of community facilities and services, we're proposing a number of community benefits we've touched on. That includes preservation and enhancement of the woodlot. It includes affordable housing, including options for seniors, something that's very important to Councillor Pasternak. Includes a daycare facility, retail and commercial uses, including those geared to seniors. It includes a new bridge across Shepherd, serving pedestrians and cyclists and going into Dansview Park. And I also wanted to mention a couple of other things. We're right now having discussions with the Toronto Catholic District School Board about locating an elementary school within William Baker, which I think furthers the idea of a complete community. We've also earmarked the lands at the southeast corner of Keele and Shepherd for a future community center. In terms of phasing, William Baker neighborhood will be implemented over many years and built in many phases. It's not going to happen overnight. Our focus is on the phase 1 lands, which is the area you see in the south, and that includes the neighborhood focus and the hub of activity. Our future phases will involve the areas to the north. In terms of our next steps, we're here today, and over the next month, we'll be getting community and stakeholder feedback on our emerging district plan, so we encourage you to provide comments. We're going to be refining that plan based on the input we receive from the community and the stakeholders, and early in the new year, we're going to be making an application to the city. As I mentioned, it will be a district plan for the entire neighborhood and a rezoning and a draft plan of subdivision for the phase 1 lands. And then from that point on, there will be a city-led process, but lots of opportunities for public meetings and public engagement and public feedback. And with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Nicole.
Great. Perfect. So that sort of wraps up the presentation part of it. Very interested if anybody has comments or questions. Do you think that what's emerging here works well? Do you have any refinements you want to see the team consider, or do you have any questions about it? And I think we might have had one extra participant join. So welcome, Willis, and so I'll open it up in case anybody has any comments or questions on the presentation.
I've got a comment.
All right.
Sorry, I don't want to monopolize the conversation, so if anybody else has anything to say, I'd prefer for them to go first.
Well, okay, let me see. I mean, you're a small group, notwithstanding the fact that it looks like there's a lot of people. We've got a lot of city folks and Canada Lands folks. So it's Susan or Veronique or Willis. I know you just got here, so if you have a question, it's probably a good time to ask. Susan, Veronique, or Willis, do you want to jump in before Vincent goes?
No, at the moment, I think I don't have much to ask at this moment. I'll pass for now.
Okay.
And wait for the next presentation. Yes.
Susan or Veronique, any thoughts on what you saw there?
Hi, it's Susan.
Yeah.
I guess just two comments that to add to the thought process. One around this daycare concept, and we've been looking for quite some time actually at integrated daycare models and trying to get funding and support to design and build for those. I mean, the research is very, very strong to bring both the children and the senior population groups under adult daycares together. So I wonder if that could be considered given the strong emphasis on the seniors population for the community at large. I think that would definitely help in the supports that the community is really truly needing as well long term. One comment. And then the other thing that we've come to learn about providing care for seniors is simple, but possibly an oversight sometimes, is parking. So we need staff to get into these facilities, often 24/7. We have staff going in and out of facilities to support seniors, and parking can sometimes be a barrier and quite a challenge to the staff. So either parking of their personal vehicles or company vehicles for transportation, and then also easy access for the staff who are traveling again 24/7. So during dark hours overnight, staff could be taking a bus and walking through an ill-lit area, if you will, to get to seniors. So just thinking through kind of what that also means. So the senior themselves, yes, and then also the staff that are supporting them.
Great, James.
I think, Susan, those are great comments. I think in terms of the daycare, I mean, we very much see it as potentially being an integrated facility as well. We like the intergenerational element to having everything from kids through to seniors. And we see there's some real synergies in terms of what we're doing at Downsview Park. We've got the Downsview Hub and Education Center. We've got the playground, that infrastructure, future community center site. And there's a real opportunity to do something special in terms of the programming and that type of community space. So we certainly see that daycare facility could be integrated. You know, would love to talk further with you about that. And then your second comment about parking, I mean, I'll just touch on, and then, you know, whether it's Donna or Amy, they can always add on. But we're certainly looking at the site very carefully in terms of the feasibility, understanding how parking and drop off can work, you know, whether it's parking underground or surface parking. What we want to do through our district plan is make sure we've got allowance for these kind of uses, you know, uses around seniors, specific elements around how the floor plates work, so that we allow those opportunities to come. We don't want to preclude them early on in our district planning. So that's generally how we're approaching it. And I would say, you know, to your point, we're very much looking at things like parking, and that's where the city comes in through the application process. Is Diane and her group there will be looking at parking and the accessibility components.
Great.
Yeah.
Anybody, Amy or Donna, you want to jump in or leave it at that?
I was just going to add one tiny thing. I heard, which is a really important point, about thinking about the staff that are used at the seniors living facilities. And so that's in part really important for us to keep in mind. And that's in part why they are located right in the neighborhood focus, close to transit. So that's something that we will make sure that we do a better job of explaining, because it's exactly to your point, to make it easy to get to the facilities.
And just a quick note on the parking. You're absolutely right. We are looking at every single individual block and individual building to make sure that it has sufficient parking facilities to serve that individual building. So, so that it will be self-sufficient, and there'll be easy access to parking for staff and residents, and also pick-up drop-off facilities.
What was the last part? As also what facilities?
Pick-up drop-off facilities.
Pick-up drop-off, yeah. Okay. Okay, thanks, team. Susan, does that work for you?
It's great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Veronique, did you want to weigh in at all on what you've heard or seen?
Sure. So I know that we discussed that, I guess the radius we were looking at was pretty small. And I did notice that some of the senior living facilities were kind of sprinkled around. Just personally, as someone who did care for an elderly grandparent, it's that I think that a strong sense of community would be something that is incredibly important. And for that I just think that maybe if we built the senior residences a little closer together and closer to most of the amenities, I think it would be best because, you know, if one building's having a dinner or a theme event, well, then they can reach out next door and include other people as well. I think it'll keep the community happier and healthier for longer.
Makes sense. And you were fading just a little, but I think you got the point that from your experience, having the seniors' residences closer together means they can participate in each other's stuff easier
Yeah.
and also close to amenities.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, Vincent.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. That's a great point, Veronique. And I was thinking about that too. We've been talking about walking distances and like making the community hub as close to senior living as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's something that we haven't mentioned, or I haven't heard mentioned. Maybe it was mentioned previously, but there is a, I believe it's called, a Downsview Long-Term Care Center, like nestled within William Baker, not actually within the scope of the site, but it's there. It's like right there. And also it was mentioned that some people wanted a seniors village, other people wanted a place for all. And this is the compromise that you've come to by making the neighborhood hub just extremely inclusive, having all those seniors amenities, but also having amenities that will be used by everybody else, whether they're seniors or
Oh
not.
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But
I just think that tightening the cluster might be beneficial for the
I agree with you, Veronique. I think maybe, and I'm addressing CLC. Like, wouldn't it be beneficial to create a seniors village and this hub? Like the development that's planned for right around the Downsview Long-Term Care Center, that would be very synergetic, right? There's already community like senior housing, right? A senior living facility, right? You can concentrate more senior living facilities and more senior amenities in that area to create a seniors village. It would be all within walking distance, much closer than the Downsview hub from the Downsview Long-Term Care Center. And you'd also be able to, have like a more, a more diverse place for all, you know, one that isn't catered specifically towards one group of people, right? In the hub of the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. I think these are great comments, and Vincent, the district plan, the land use concept you see will accommodate a seniors village. You know, should the market be there? I mean, that's the purpose of our district plan, is really to provide that framework from a land use perspective to bring these uses. I think what we were trying to say by, seniors village, a place for all, is that we didn't see this as an exclusive place. We didn't see it as something where, for instance, there's a gated community that's just focused around seniors. We didn't see there being at the Keele and Shepherd intersection medical uses or shops that only serve seniors. We thought this was a place for all. I think some of the community members today had comments about the importance of including children, and for us, that's what we wanted to get across, is we see it as inclusive. We didn't want this to be a gated or an exclusive kind of community. You know, in terms of the long-term care facility, you mentioned the Downsview Long-Term Care Facility. You know, they're our neighbors. We've been talking with them for, I think, over a year and a half. And, there's some synergies in terms of how we plan together. You know, obviously over the last several months, they've been very much focused, with everything the pandemic's brought. But we are in discussions with them about how to best plan our sites together to make sure there's integration. I know they have a desire, if possible, to grow their facility and to do some assisted living. So for us, we see that as, just as you said, fantastic opportunity, something the city has encouraged us to do as well, and we'll continue to have that dialogue with that group.
Great. Just one last thing too about the daycare center. I believe it was it Susan who mentioned an integrated daycare center? So the community center that is that like the potential community center on the slides, the location is not exactly decided yet. Is that correct?
where are things at with that, James, between Canada Lands and the city?
That's correct. I mean, ultimately, it's a city facility. What Canada Lands is doing is we've offered the lands for that facility, should the city determine that is the location they prefer. And we've also offered assistance to assist with it in any way we can. I think, as you know, the councillor's been involved in all our stakeholder group conversations and is very much an advocate and a champion of that community center. We share that same vision as well. And so whatever we can do to help deliver it, whether it's helping with the upfront planning work, design work, or whether it's potentially front-ending the cost,
Right.
work into those.
Well, if that's the location where the community center is planned, it's an excellent location because it's already it's adjacent to the Discovery Center, to the community garden, to the play zone, but it's also adjacent to a large area of parking. Like there's several parking lots there. So to address Susan's question about or comment about there being adequate parking for a daycare center, if the daycare center is located integrated with the community center, then there's plenty of space to either enhance that parking lot or extend it, right? And also to put maybe other amenities like a library or a place of worship, or I don't know, another playground could go there. Yeah.
I was thinking Susan was meaning integrating like a seniors facility with daycare, so that intergenerational, but Susan, I might have got that wrong. Was that, I just making sure I heard you?
Yes, it could be both.
Okay.
So yes, assisted living sites that interact with a children's daycare, but also a daycare center that caters both seniors and children for day use. So the senior would come for the day, the children would come for the day, and then go back home.
Perfect. Yep, covers both bases. Makes sense. Do we have any, James, you want to, or Canada Lands, have any other comments on the community center front right now? I guess I'll just open it up to anybody with any comments on it. We're doing this meeting again this evening for people who find it easier to join in the evening. And I know we have a reasonably small handful of members of the public here. So, I know Veronique and Vincent and Susan, you've been sharing your thoughts, which has been super helpful and good. Willis, you didn't catch the presentation, but it is being recorded and we will have the slides online as well. And the feedback window will be open for till the middle of December, early December. So I don't know if you want to weigh in on what your interest is or what you're hoping to see from this district planning process while we've got the opportunity.
No, really, I think I'll wait for the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better. It's better if I look at what I want to comment on. It's hard to comment on something I've not yet seen.
Agreed. And do you live close by?
Okay, I used to live close by.
Okay.
Currently, I'm out of the city.
Okay.
I'm in Nairobi, Kenya right now, but I'm so much interested in what's happening there.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, because I'll be coming
That's probably our farthest. That's probably our farthest away participant. That's for sure.
Yeah, sure. I'm a PhD student at U of T. Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll be coming back sometime in January. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's why, and that's my code as well. So
Okay, great.
the presentation.
Good. We'll make sure we send it to you. And I think James wants to jump in.
Yeah, Nicole, I was just going to say, Willis, thank you very much for joining. And, for everyone, Willis has been following us since we were out early in the community, I think almost 2 years ago, and has been active and engaged with Matthew and I. So happy to see you take part, and hopefully you can join or at least see the presentation online as well.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Vincent, Susan, Veronique, you guys have any final kind of comments? Because we don't have a large group, I certainly don't think we need to stick around until 2 o'clock if we don't have a lot more discussion, or if anybody from the city wants to have any share anything, now's a good time. Opening it up to all. Go, Vincent. Don't be shy. I mean, that's the
Sorry.
benefit of showing up.
There's actually like so much I want to talk about, but I'm just gonna try and narrow it down to one thing, or maybe two. Okay, all right. One thing in particular, I know. So I moved in to my place at Stanley Green after the 2 first consultations. So I'm sure you guys talked at length about this, but regarding affordable housing, it was decided that you'd have quite a wide array of it, long-term care facilities, rental housing. But the 3 that were left out, I think, are 3 of the most important, especially for this neighborhood. Like anyone who's been to the plaza at Wilson and Keel will know that, there are quite a few homeless people, quite a few addicts, and, they need help, they need housing because they just sleep out in that parking lot and do other things in that parking lot. So I feel like, and I know you've probably already considered it, you probably debated it quite a bit, but I think maybe it should be revisited, the possibility of having at least emergency shelters or social housing, maybe not transitional housing, but I think those would be pretty important, especially during the winter for those people in the community.
It's a great point. I don't know, James, you want to reveal how you guys are thinking about that range of different housing types, or?
Yep. Yeah, so I think we looked at the range of housing types. First we were looking at the city's secondary plan in terms of the vision around William Baker. I think for the next stage, we started to consult early, even before we got out with phase 1 of consultation, and talk to groups, stakeholder groups, talk to community members about what type of housing they were looking and contemplating with this. So that helped us kind of arrive at that spectrum. So we wanted to be clear on what we were looking at William Baker and what we weren't looking at. We're trying to, as best as possible, be inclusive. I know some of the folks at the city, including Ben, are looking more broadly in terms of that full spectrum and considering things like emergency shelters and modular housing. My understanding is they're not looking at William Baker in particular for that, but they are looking at other sites. And I think that's something that, the city is very active in doing. I think recently there's been a proposal call for, other potential lands to put forward. So, I think it's something maybe, I don't know if Ben, you want to speak to that a little bit?
Well, I was going to jump in and say that we certainly see William Baker as a wonderful example of multi-use integration of a site into an existing community, with the opportunities for incorporating activities and uses that complement each other, so that we begin to have buildings and uses that don't end at 5 o'clock at night. To Vinny's point, or to Susan's point about adult daycare or youth daycare, but using the same facility. I wanted to say that we certainly have been supportive of Canada Land's initiative with William Baker. We think that they've done a great job in reaching out to the community. I think the pandemic has created a bit of an extra challenge to James and his team, but we're very supportive of what they've done so far. Once the application is made officially to the city, then the process will take on a bit of a different angle, because of it'll be at the point where we're moving towards some sort of reality, and we can see it at that point much more clearer. So a lot of this conversation is going to be very supportive and very useful to that process. And I wanted just to applaud Canada Lands for what they've done so far.
Okay, so specifics on what Vincent is raising, there's an opportunity for that to come forward through the city process.
That's correct. That's correct. And there may be nuances that emerge once this becomes a city process. There may be other individuals or other policy perspectives that will be brought forward by either the city itself or the various divisions or the community. But we're headed in the good direction, and the conversation is a very useful one.
Okay, thank you. Vincent, did you have another one? I know you said you had a lot. Did you have another point, or do you want to jump in?
I do.
Good, go ahead.
So regarding Carl Hall Road, I know at an ID8 meeting, it was suggested that Carl Hall be extended to intersect with Shepherd on either side, potentially creating like a through street or even replacing Shepherd, the loop Shepherd, as a continuation. I don't know. It seems kind of like a pipe dream, but is there any plans to I don't know. I know that's not part of William Baker exactly, right? It's like actually in more what would be the Shepherd Chesswood neighborhood. But you know, if Carl Hall Road was extended, then that would create a lot more integration between the different Downsview lands, between William Baker and Shepherd Chesswood. So I'm just wondering if any of you guys have been looking into that, or what the status on that is.
And its connection to William Baker. Yeah, James, and then I don't know, Amy, if you have any thoughts to jump in, but James, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to do the exact same thing. Just going to kick it off, Vincent. I mean, great question. For us, you know, as designers, planners, we're looking at that integration and how, you know, overall we have the important connections, how we mitigate traffic. And so Amy and her team are looking at that and connecting with the ID8 team as well. I mean, I'm not sure if you'd like to add on.
Sure. I mean, so Carl Hall Road and what happens to Carl Hall Road? It's currently it's a private street right now. It's a privately owned road. Through the Downsview area secondary plan process, we are looking at the overall road plan, which includes that. So all options are still on the table. There's some limitations in terms of extending Carl Hall Road. To Shepherd on either side, or replacing Shepherd. But we're looking at those.
If I might jump in as well, Nicole and James, Amy.
Go ahead, Gina.
Yeah, so the ID8 Downsview process, which is also kind of underway now, is definitely looking at how to strengthen the east-west connections, both from William Baker through Shepherd into the park and also across the tracks. And given that ID8 Downsview, we're collaborating with our neighbors in Northcrest who own the former Bombardier airfield, we finally have an opportunity to look at that in a really comprehensive way. Vincent, I sure hope and I imagine that you've been engaged in the ID8 Downsview process. And anyone who hasn't, ID8downsview.ca, our round 2 discussion materials are posted online, and they have some of the information around those connections that we're looking at, because I think I hear you in that we heard from the community a few incredibly strong themes. One was, of course, the centrality of the park to the new neighborhoods and the future of this area. And the next one, just as strongly, was improve the connections for the community in this area. And that's something that we are definitely equally interested in. So we're looking at east-west PED connections and vehicle connections, and we're looking at a very strong urban design interface between William Baker and Shepherd and the park. So I love to hear that, and you've clearly got a comprehensive view of the area, and I encourage you to look at those materials if you haven't so far.
Thank you.
We also received an email from did a bit of a check-in on the counselor. He was active as part of a couple of the pre-meetings we had, the Downsview Lands Community Voice Association meeting, as well as with the York Center's Senior Steering Committee. And I understand from his staff he had a conflict that came up just at noon, but he will be joining tonight. So he's been sort of actively involved all along. And so it's nice to get that little note here from Adam. So any other thoughts or comments? I mean, it sounds like we could put Vincent and James together for quite some time to go through quite a bit more detail. And it doesn't, I mean, there's no time like the present, but I also want to be conscious of whether Susan or Veronique have anything else they want to add. I know Willis is going to take a look at the presentation. Is there anything else that others wanna jump in on?
This is Susan. I'm good for now. Thank you for the presentation today, and happy to follow up with any questions too about anything I raised.
Wonderful. And especially on the integration front, if you've already been doing some advocacy and homework on it, that might be an interesting one, the daycare seniors integration you're talking about.
For sure. Yeah, 100%. Happy to have a conversation about that.
Okay, good. Veronique, you got anything else you want to jump in on just before we wrap up?
No, that was everything. Just wanted to talk about my opinions with the senior living.
Yep, and putting them closer together, make them easier to access, easier to connect to. Vincent, do you have anything else you want to, I know you do.
Just one more thing, and this regards the woodlot, and it's really not a complaint or anything. It's just I guess a question or a suggestion. There is an aged woodlot in the north center area of Downsview Park right now. It's beautiful. It's quite large, and I think there's plans to grow it a little bit. There's actually like a corridor between the pedestrian walkway and that woodlot, right? That is undeveloped. It's all green, right? It does kind of separate the playground from the more industrial employment area in the east of there. Is there any plans, or would Canada Lands ever consider maybe like extending the woodlot in William Baker through that pedestrian walkway down that corridor to connect it with the Downsview Park woodlot? It seems like I know it's like a kind of a crazy idea, but it like creating a contiguous sort of wood area, sort of like we have in other places in Toronto, mainly where the rivers are, the Humber Valley Trail and the Don River Trail and Ravine and Greenway corridor. Yeah, you could create something similar there, a sort of microcosm of that. Might be a good idea.
Well, now's the time to raise it. James.
Yeah, maybe I can just touch on it a little bit and see if Dina wants to weigh in as well. But, in terms of William Baker and the connection to Downsview Park, that's critical for us. What we're committed to doing is providing a new pedestrian bridge, cycling bridge, providing that gateway to link the two. And I think through our last phase of consultation, we heard the importance of that to people. And so what we've done is we've enlarged the area around that bridge connection to provide for a public connection and public park. I'm not aware of any discussion in terms of the potential to extend that woodlot. Dean, I'm not sure if you want to weigh in with any thoughts.
Well, I think that the idea is a really good one, in that we've been looking at the park and all of the lands in a way as to how we can enhance diversity and habitat. And that can look like many different things, right, to create green corridors and connections. So that definitely speaks to that theme. We haven't looked at the specifics of how to extend the PED bridge down through the park, but I think it is very much an evolving park, and we're continuing to plant trees and bring up green in such a way that we could look at that. The Festival Terrace and the entrance through the north, there's a lot of functions there, as you know, and including a potential new community center, fingers crossed. But I like that idea. It's something that, it certainly speaks to the themes that we want throughout the area.
Okay, I see that we had one participant just join. Welcome, Roseanne. I'm Nicole. I'm helping facilitate the meeting, and we were actually just getting close to wrapping up. we had a presentation from Canada Lands and their consultants, and we've been spending the last few minutes sort of answering questions and getting suggestions. We've got a number of staff from the City of Toronto, from different divisions of the city, that are part of the call. And we also had somebody from the Duke Heights BIA, from LumaCare, is on the call now, from the Cocoa Group of Companies, as well as a resident from Stanley Green, who's also a member of the Voice, Vincent. We've also got a participant in Nairobi, Kenya, who's been following the process for some time and is interested in what's happening in this part of the city for when he comes back. Do you, at this point, not having seen the presentation, I guess my suggestion would be to, at least not as part of this call, would be to maybe have a look at the slides or join us tonight. Or if you have a priority very much already in mind related to William Baker, to maybe say hello and let us know now. Otherwise, we're close to wrapping up, I think.
Okay, thanks very much. I came in late and I apologize for that. I think I will participate tonight just to see the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Good. Okay, thanks you guys. That was a really good discussion, a small but mighty group of participants. And we will be following up with a summary of the feedback, the presentation, as I said, and will be online as well. James, do you wanna wrap it up for now? And we'll see at least Roseanne tonight, maybe others.
I think just to echo your comments, Nicole, I mean, I think some very great conversation, great feedback today that we'll certainly take under advisement and look to make some refinements to our plan. So appreciate that feedback. I think there's also some people part of the call, either just joining today or being with us for a couple of years, and I look forward to continuing to engage. Nicole has mentioned we're holding public comments open until mid-December, but I think we're always available, so feel free to pick up the phone, send me an email. We've got Swearhun's contact as well. Certainly I'd like to engage with some of you a little bit further in terms of some of the details around things like integrated daycare, the woodlot, and the seniors piece as well. But thank you again. Appreciate spending your lunch with us, and look forward to continuing the process with you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We're going to head out.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.